Hello Castro Culture, welcome back to the channel, Old Boy here, and today I just wanted to make a short video outlining some of the observations I'd made when studying the Celtic Castro Culture of Spain. So some of the tribal names, place names and personal names share a striking similarity to those that we find in the British Isles, and I just want to outline those for you today. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so the first and most obvious observation is the fact that we find groups of people called the Brigantes in Spain, Ireland, Britain, as well as elsewhere in Europe. Classical sources such as Pliny and Ptolemaios tell us that they were based in what is now the modern-day city of A Coruña, Galicia, northwestern Spain, and that they also inhabited what is Waterford in southeastern Ireland today, as well as northern Britain. As we've discussed in previous videos, Irish mythology states that Brigantium in Spain, as well as the tower which is located there, was founded by Breogan, sometimes referred to as Brigus, and that Breogan was a descendant of Phineas and Scotia, the former of which has many similarities to Phineas from Greek mythology, who is described, depending on the sources, as a brother or cousin of Cadmus. According to Irish mythology, after sailing around the Mediterranean, Breogan's group eventually reach Spain, and they become the dominant group in the area. Breogan founds the city of Brigantium, as well as the tower there, which is named the Tower of Hercules today. And from this tower they first spot Ireland and make plans to travel there. Now this is where we find some more Phoenician connections, as the Tower of Hercules is thought to be of Roman origin. However, this Roman tower was constructed on top of an older site which many scholars speculate may have been Phoenician in origin, and the purpose of the tower was to facilitate a straight sailing route from Brigantium in Spain to Waterford or Brigantium in southeastern Ireland, and this was done in order to avoid a much lengthier coasting voyage sailing around the Bay of Biscay up to Brittany and then across to the British Isles. Now what's interesting about this is if we do draw a straight line from Brigantium in Spain to Brigantium in Ireland, then the route passes extremely close by to the Scilly Isles off the southwestern coast of Cornwall, which is long thought to have been the Cassiterides or Tin Isles, which the Phoenicians were said to frequent due to its source of tin. In addition to this, a Bronze Age facility was uncovered on a promontory close to what was Brigantia in A Coruña, Spain, which is described as a facility which was dedicated to metallurgy. The facility is dated to the 9th century BC at the earliest, and the buildings are described as being constructed to house furnaces to produce two different kinds of bronze, one for practical items such as weapons and another for decorative prestige items. No agricultural tools were found, or any indication that the inhabitants worked the land or sea for food, showing the site itself was solely used for the production of metals. The site was demolished to make way for a new port before many people could get a look at it, and the idea was they were going to dismantle it, put it into storage, and then rebuild it at a separate facility later. However, as far as I'm aware, the site is still actually in storage. If anyone has any further information on this, please do let me know in the comments. For more information on Breogan, the Brigantes and Phineas, please see my other videos here. As well as Brigantium, I also noticed some other place names which seem to indicate a linguistic connection between the Celtic regions of Spain and Portugal with the British Isles. The suffix briga in place names seems to be commonplace, and this shares an etymological root with the word Brigantes. But as well as this, there were other notable names, which are as follows: Cambra in Portugal versus Cambria, which is the Latinised word for Cymru, Wales. Next, Ibora and Iburo-Britium in Portugal, as well as Ibora and Ibornanto in Galicia, versus Iboricum, which is the Latinised Celtic name for York, Britain, which was inhabited by the Brigantes, and all of these words are derived from the Celtic root for yew tree, which is Iburo. Okay, so the next one's quite interesting, and that is the place name Pendraganum, which was the Celtic name for Pedrogao Grande in Portugal. And obviously, this seems to share a linguistic connection with the word Pendragon from the name Uther Pendragon from Arthurian legend. And this is particularly interesting because we also find the personal name Artius in Galicia, which comes from the Celtic linguistic root Arctus, which means bear, and some scholars have argued that this same root may be where the name Arthur comes from in Arthurian legend. In addition to this, we also find some interesting tribal names which may also suggest a connection. For example, we find a tribe in Galicia called the Albiones, which may contain the same etymological root as Albion, which is an early alternative name for Britain and was used by the likes of Pytheas circa 300 BC. There is an inscription found in Asturias, Spain, which mentions the Albiones. Quote, Nica, son of Clutoso, from the house of Cariaca, prince of the Albions, 75 years, lies here, end quote. Now, an additional observation to make is that this area was subsequently settled by Britons leaving the British Isles in the post-Roman era, and that it received a new name in this era which was Britannia. So does this indicate a long shared heritage between the two groups? Now, we also find a southern Galician tribe who were named the Caladuni, which is reminiscent of the Caledoni of Scotland. In addition to this, there's another group called the Silini or Sileni, which could potentially be linked to the Silires of Wales, which according to some sources, such as Tacitus, were thought to come from Iberia. In addition to this, we also find similar building styles, such as round tower buildings throughout Galicia, Ireland and Britain, and as John T. Cook and Barry Cunliffe have noted, there seems to have been a trade network in the Bronze Age which connected the British Isles, Brittany and Spain, as can be evidenced from hordes of similar style weapons which were ritually deposited in bogs, rivers or lakes. Elite feasting equipment has also been found in these locations, which is indicative of trade and or travel between these regions, and I'm going to be exploring this in the next episode, which is dedicated to examining this Castro culture in Spain. Thanks for everyone who supports my work and this channel. I hugely appreciate it, and keep your eyes peeled for the next video. Old Boy out.